being yourself, spiritually and or mindfully, since mindful is secular, because mindfulness, you use the three pillars of your mind, as I get taught by Dr. Daniel Siegel and more of the great therapists and all of the different titles they have, but the sciences community, my mystic community, they're the spiritual and spirituality sadguru. So they don't explain to you why mindfulness works. The therapists do. Three pillars of the mind. So focused attention, and then in that awareness, that is maximum uncertainty, which is why you're gonna first be a whole self and know that you have a window of welcome to emotions so that you can contain sensations that come up. And that's number one, very important to share that I don't see enough people out there in the spirituality community or the mystic community informing you of the psych education. And that's because they actively don't have it. I'm taking my mindfulness and life coaching certificate courses, and they don't talk to you about any of the trauma charges or about what happens if you have people who have disorganized attachment with dissociative identity disorder, who, for example, definitely want first the Pat Ogden and Dr. Daniel Siegel, and then eventually they get to come on over once their body can contain, like Peter Levine says, all that comes up and not have any of overwhelming sensations that would then lead instead to a breaking of that window of tolerance. Basically, you anyways, long story short, when you get to be yourself spiritually, it's because you have a whole self, and your sense of self is not, in fact, distorted from childhood trauma, trust breaks, and so on and so forth. This is why there are neuroscientists and neurobiologists and good therapists who will inform you of what mindfulness, again, secularly or spiritually, it still involves your mind, which involves focused attention. When you go to awareness, that's when whatever's here is going to come up. And that's the part of why maximum uncertainty can be very uncomfortable and re traumatizing for people who are uninformed of their self, which most childhood trauma survivors are. And they don't want to go to childhood trauma therapy because they're busy with spiritual bypassers and anyone who's not aware, mindful practitioners of the importance of being educated. I got educated because I support with personal development and I'm integrating the spirituality stuff. So I'm like, okay, cool, let's do trauma. And, it's very important. Also, I have my own lovely panic attacks. Not so lovely, but I will say they're not the worst. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I actively know they're not the worst of anything because my first 3 years of life, thanks to my hypnotherapy session, I know, and I remembered beautiful. So I know my first 3 years. And then as I followed, I got all the way to my 8 years of age where I was disowned officially by my twin. And that's when I found out thoughts and emotions are not irrefutable facts. Because I actively felt and thought physically, I still remember that's an explicit memory. I was like, I'm disowned. I have no more sister. And she's my twin. And I went crying to my mom, who said, no, no, no. You silly, you can't be disowned. It is not possible. And she reassured me and she reminded me again, different, not defective. So that's why being yourself is easy for people like me. And the people who get here, they get earned secure attachment. Okay, so let me continue to share why being yourself is going to be one of the biggest love affairs. One of the biggest. I decided it's not the biggest because the reality is it's a love affair to love yourself first and to be mature about it, but it's also a love affair to love life, which is everyone that surrounds you, all your herd members, all of them, twin flames, soulmates, twin flames, soulmates. Some of us have more than one and we don't get destabilized. Nobody runs and nobody chases because that actively would be like a marathon. I don't like to run and I don't want to be chased. I definitely don't believe in any of that distorted, unhealed childhood trauma love stuff. Yes, those are all people who need Terry Real so they can learn to love themselves first. So the biggest love affair is not hard work. Yeah, that definitely isn't love, not even close. So what you see on there is for people who actively don't own their self, their sense of self, their core self, narrative relational. In fact, again, it would be a lot cooler if they did go to Patrick Gihan and get their child parts, all of them, EMDR, child parts work somatics, because your body, again, is very important. Get all of that owned. So you will see yourself, then you'll soothe yourself. This means your nervous system, FYI. So again, with panic attacks, I know all about my sympathetic fight flight. I even got into one of my modes because I was overwhelmed with good stuff. I didn't know that. This is where Ron Siegel informed me. You can get overwhelmed with good stuff. Like I remember this surprise, not my surprise birthday party. That I was very good at getting ready to leave. So I did a very good job. My body did. See, this is what it means to know yourself as an emotionally, mentally, and physically mature human being. It's called restorative embodiment, self-aware life. It's really fun. But again, we don't have laundry here. The Zen master talks to you about laundry. It means sadness overwhelms him still because he must feel it like laundry. I remember the waves as I got to say, I'm not going to do the waves anymore. It's unnecessary. It doesn't match what I feel. I like to live. I'm not upset at emotions. I even found out as I was completing the inner growth mindset journey, we have 3 levels. I got to neutrality and duality. That's actively me using my prefrontal cortex. I just didn't know how to explain it. So now that I know the basis of you and I can say, okay, inner growth mindset supports people who are ready to think and feel from here and here openly. And that's why being yourself is easy for those of us who have the biggest love affair of all times. It's loving ourselves exactly as we are. So that's why I don't change. My name's Maria. There's a door. You can leave. And you're telling me to change. Yes, again, that's not my idea of a love affair. My love affair is going to be, you're beautiful with all your quirks, all your flaws, and your integrity. I really like that you tell me the truth in my face and not behind my back. You can call me names in my face too. Yes, you're a shit. I'm a shit. We're all shits. That's really good. Now we're not doing any of this in humbug. Humbug is sympathetic. Those are the people who actively have a sympathetic because they're in a seeking this dysregulated nervous system. You'll know it when you have healthy self-worth and know how to regulate your nervous system. And it won't be where you're avoiding the camera every time you're speaking. See a lot of people out there. Let me remind myself that they give solace to the 3D, 4D collective. And we will be using words. Please do remember that I use words like thin air. Today I'm saying this, tomorrow I'm doing that because I'm in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. And that's how it's always going to work. And I do know the left motors like to break things apart and then they come back with their little lists of proof. Makes me laugh because that's a Cusco. Anytime you're trying to get me to say yes, you actively are looking for. Makes me think of the Gladiator. Anybody remember that scene? And I was like, you know what? If you were really smart, you would do the right thing for yourself because you're going to end up dead. And the people, you can distract the masses eventually. You can actually distract them. So you could make them upset now, but live. But no, your ego got the best of you. So you did die. And I don't like to use these types of examples, but that actively is what the left mode does. People who are dead inside, they actively use the word God and Jesus. They wield their words really effectively for the lost boys, lost girls, lost days. Because only people who don't know their core self, because they don't have a love button, are going to follow people who talk to you about there's no human goodness inside. Yes, imagine a person trusting a kind person less, and that's because they actively have black and white thinking, split thinking, shame cycle, trauma, and so on and so forth. A distorted lens. Thank you, childhood, all of them, and Dr. Daniel Fox included, the personality disorder expert who lets you all know borderline is healable, narcissism too, sociopathy, psychopathy. I know that the sociopathy is in the myths, but the science is there's even sciences people who are wanting to disprove reality. So here's the deal. Spirituality, sciences come together at 5D here at IHP and anywhere we have smart people. The ones who want to break it down, they can keep looking real close at that foot. They don't even know what they're looking at anymore. We are like, wow, they really don't know long-term, big picture. They really don't know it's a globe. And well, we're going to leave them to their distraction. See, the smart people actively don't need to do anything because it is called soulless for a reason. I'm self-help for personal development. I use the brain. I love the brain. I love the mind, the left and right. And this is a very big difference. It's why it's spiritual self-help for you who are a human, not for anyone who just wants to do the half-ass stuff. So let me leave that aside as we close on out. The love affair, it's with you and then with the world. And you're like, wow. And with people, because the only way they're going to be around you is if they say, you know what, you're cool, Maria. So use your name. And of course, you respect them. That's what I said, with flaws and integrity. And a love affair need not be with any particular person. That's right, Sadhguru. You could have a great love affair with life itself, which is actively why, thanks God, high five. Jesus, high five again. Sadhguru, a high five to you too. And that's the part of where I was gifted this life. I was a very, very happy individual without clairs. And that's because God made it very easy for me to know what integrity meant. So did Jesus. And it still means the same. And that's when I said, hey, God, I don't see this evil thing that all these people taught me about. But I do know what my fate is in case I ever meet it, and what I'm supposed to do if I ever am there, and that I need to accept what I don't like because it was really scary. I was like, oh my gosh, if that ever exists, because I thought it was a monster. That's how they portray the demons, devils, evils, and now they're still doing it, but that's to humans. And they have been doing this for a while, even without my attachment trauma information. And when I got clairs, nothing changed. I knew that there was no evil because now I was officially a mystic with energetic spectrum and clairs that are not acknowledged by the church because they want to call spiritual gifts only spiritual gifts, and then they want to give you seals of approval because they're still living in the medieval times. It's also not that time or era, which is why we're not anointed, but it's also not we're a machine, please. So that's why the sciences are going to keep doing sciences. Spirituality, we're going to keep doing spirituality, but we have an umbrella of all because the reality is Holy Spirit works through open hearts, not closed ones. If you have a shame button, you don't love yourself, and you want to be rigid and let me whip people into shape and let me give them meaning versus understand that they can find meaning. And you whipping anyone into shape, it's because you got whipped into that shape and you're so cold like ice that your eyes, they actively have no light. But you are human and you provide solace to those who want to know, those who actively have shame, blame, fault, and revenge, and their venomous tooth of a 16-year-old who gets more and more soft as they get more and more popular just make me think of how happy Peter Pan is that he has lost boys, lost girls, and lost days following them. So it's very easy to discern when you know what you're looking at because your eyes aren't fooled by some fancy camera, some fancy suit, or your eloquent mouth. I look in your eyes. I know who I'm looking at. Oh, and you're not looking in my eyes. You're looking all over the place, but you don't look in my eyes. And even if you do, you won't know. So armored in shut is what some people, the hard hearts, yes, it's unfortunate business when you're cut off from your body because that's a inner child that you got going on. And again, whipping into shape and shaming people is only for those who actively got shamed themselves and they don't trust humanity enough. They don't trust their own species. It means you don't trust yourself. That's the equation for a person who owns their core self with an open heart. We're all flawed. We all can make mistakes. Nobody's their biggest mistake. Jesus teaches us about forgiveness and repenting. Repenting is not about the medieval times. It's actively about I'm not a perfect human being, but I'm not here to be ashamed of myself, which is why Patrick Tiahan, come on in. The will to heal, pain, grief, empowered justice, and then maybe if you want, you forgive the home that you were born into and or whatever stuff happened. And that's actively what I find fair and square. I don't have that childhood trauma, but you better bet that if I did, I'd be pretty fucking pissed too. And I would be able to understand imperfection because that's actively something reasonable. That doesn't mean I would be able to easily and quickly process what is a rage and who knows, however much more despair, depending on how much of your life you wasted in a distorted lens that you had with yourself because of shame, blame, fault, revenge that was not yours. Your dysregulated nervous system and your distorted self lens was not yours. It was somebody who spoke to you after breaking you. Again, I have all the compassion in the world for all people. No demonizing and no romanticizing. The will to heal gets people on a journey to therapy, and then they're going to be ready to actively own their heart and their brain. If they don't, they got the people with soulless, and there's a reason for it, and that's something that is not provable. 97% of what is out there is unavailable to scientists, and we have scientists who are wanting to use AI to disprove reality. We have flat earthers, and pretty much spirituality is about faith. I have faith, and I know what life is. It's a beautiful love affair. And having, for example, panic attacks is not the worst of the spectrum. I actively, with clairs and with my energy body expansion and with who I am and what I live, know that I'm a very lucky human being because I didn't have a distorted lens. Number one, I've loved myself since the day I can remember, and I've unconditionally loved all people as well. It feels really good to know, yeah, I'm flawed and imperfect, and I know how to stand up and be myself. And if somebody calls me an evil bitch or an evil witch, I'm like, wow, anyone want to add to that one? We could add, since I'm solo poly, we can add whore, masochist, what else? I have magical powers. So must be a sorcerer who's putting some spell on someone. These are the absurdities of people. Let me protect myself with egg whites. And I understand it, but here we're going to do new stories because I shared with you the difference with a 5D mystic. When I have had people in my energy sphere, I just say, okay, I know what I'm practicing. It's called Stop Being a Buffoon. No, actually, we're going to have an extended on that one. So let's close it out with this one. When wandering between the realms of your beginner's mind and your breath. Why beginners? Because you're always in your prefrontal cortex when you're an integrated brain. So you have healed whole self, the inner child. Once you can contain all that comes up, then you're ready for mindfulness because you know in maximum uncertainty your window tolerance and you stay grounded. You want to stay in your prefrontal cortex because otherwise you're re-traumatizing. You don't want that. That doesn't help you to witness, process what comes up and allow it to come. And there isn't speeding it up. And that's the part of where people in my courses, they're with more certificates than I've ever and I will ever have. And they actively don't accept that there's no shortcuts. So thank you, Dr. Daniel Siegel, for this very bit of information. Neuroplasticity, we all have it. Imagination is the biggest contributor. So whenever you're using negative, positive, your brain's the neutral organ. You're the one who chooses the mouth. So like when I get my panic attacks, I shut the mouth. The feelings are from a nervous system. I allow myself to allow it to be, and that's it. I wait for it to go. That's what it's called. You expand the window tolerance. Doesn't mean it's going to feel better or less. It's just something you don't destabilize. Your life isn't destabilized. And I'd rather that than medicine that makes me have a bunch of side effects and actively basically pollutes my organs because the liver has to filter it, all that. So long story short, some of us are okay with the process because it's a biochemistry and, we get it explained by smart people. So it's not something that I actively feel hard personally. When I've shared with those who feel that it's hard, they get a tone with me and then they get a tone with other people too, like Nutshell Lady. There's this lady like, so you're saying we have to put up with it? She gave you a video, the best you can do. Go, yeah, what do you want? That's how it works. So your body works a certain way, but you get to choose. You got options. Go get medicine and, do that, or expand your window tolerance and work with it. 6 to 8 weeks for new synapses and new synapse connections to be created. Neurogenesis, so you grow new neurons from the hippocampus. Synaptogenesis, new synaptic connections. That's why I'm pseudoscience lady. Remember, I bring it all together. But I learn from smart people who are empowering all of us with educational information. 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, that's 2 months. Then there's the laying down of myelin, and this myelin production comes from something glial cells that support their supportive cells, and they allow the conduction speed among interconnected neurons to become basically 100 times faster. The point, though, is this is why neuroscientists inform you that meditation is not good for all. If they have the background, they'll also inform you what you want to do because the mindfulness is about the 3 pillars of the mind. So again, you're using focused attention on the breath, but it's the awareness part that puts you into a relationship with your body. And then kind intention is to say to your body, we're safe. You could do neutrality. That way you can say, okay, I'm having one of my days again. It's annoying. I'm not going to pay too much attention. I'm not going to pay little. I'm going to try and just breathe through it. And that's pretty much it. And so you breathe and that breath. And that's why that Zen master, again, who says laundry, he doesn't have a good relationship with emotions. If he did, it's not laundry. It's called one moment of life. I'm breathing. I'm healthy. I actively have the awareness of myself, which is where no criticism. So again, being yourself with flaws and imperfections and integrity. I don't need to demonize the panic attacks. I don't need to romanticize it. I don't need to demonize or romanticize emotions. I don't need to demonize or romanticize thoughts or emotions. I don't need to dehumanize and objectify what is the experience of my human being life. When you overflow with humanity, divinity descends. Thank you, Sadhguru. It's not divinity out of this belief of, this is the part of why there's monotheistic religions for reason. And when we use the words, I don't use it the same way because I know what that monotheistic God. And if I want, I still have my independent relationship because it's an intelligence that accompanies. It's grace. It is this energy that is present. You will feel it when you're returned to your restorative embodiment, self-aware body, which is what you were supposed to be able to be in. And that's where I got lucky in my way because I didn't ever have disconnect. And this is because I had God and Jesus in my life. I've always felt lucky. My faith is unbreakable and unwavering because my heart is open to that which is love and life. And one gift I got is I get to wake up in the morning. That's exactly why my biggest love affair is with life, first of all. And learning how to be myself was easy because I have a mother who allowed me to. Again, a love affair need not be with any particular person. You could have a great love affair with life itself. And when you do, you'll also know, 1 second, every time you check the time, remember, life is ticking away, time to focus on what is truly worthwhile. Then there's also another one from him that I wanted to share. Let's see if I can find it. Everything in existence is the same energy manifesting itself in a million different ways. It's why we're brothers and sisters, like I already got taught with Jesus and God. The ones who are in shame cycle, they're still our brothers and sisters. Again, dysregulated, modulated, embodied, need first to choose to go to therapy, heal, and then if they're ready at some point to forgive, they might want to join us because, again, it's their choice and it has a process. The spiritual process is not a career, it's a way of life. Here's where Marsha Linian, PhD, that was Sadhguru, by the way. We should treat people as your behavior might be a problem, but that doesn't mean you're a problem. So it's about talking about the maladaptive adaptive child problem because the behavior is going to be maladaptive, but they can work with that if they're willing to work with themselves and a good therapist and with people who have healthy self-worth. If you think you can half-heartedly love someone, there is no love. It is either 100% or zero, and that is accurate. And as lovely Patrick Sheehan says, you need to love yourself first. He crosses out and he says you need specific and guided help to learn to deeply connect with your inner child and become the parent you've needed all along. Here we are, our adults, inner child adults. We don't need reparenting. That's when mindfulness and, again, spiritual life is actively going to be embodied by you in the fullest potential that you could ever imagine, which is why it's beautiful. With or without yoga, you don't have to do yoga. Again, yoga, mindfulness, mindsight as well. If there's a lot of uncomfortableness, that is why you want first a journey with therapy. The 6 to 8 weeks for the new synapses is why some of those within the therapy community don't talk to you about integration of the brain. I believe in empowering people with the information. So the best news is that the ones who are good, they will say, okay, look, you're in hell because you got self-loading, gut wrench, you got all this shit going on. And it's not going to be a walk in the park. We're going to walk you out of there, but you're going to walk out a ladder that burns every step of the way. And then if you don't have people around you, which is why we want the 5D collective here for those who are actively trying the best they can to get out of what is a distorted lens and maladaptive child patterns, which they will have moments of weakness. Dr. Daniel Fox is really good at explaining what that means for BPD with drugs and sex and this way of them not having a sense of self, needing to get a sense of self. The not securely attached person, same thing goes. They suffer as long as they don't have the understanding. You need to get your sense of self first, and that means you need to work with someone, or you need to be very aware, accountable, and then regulate. And anyone can, but they need to want to do it and have the information. And when they do, not use it when people are triggering you, but use it to actively learn how to harness your body and bring it back home to where it's going in the first place. For a human life to flourish, all other life forms on the planet also need to flourish. Yes, we want our ecosystem to thrive. I'm actively looking for one more, but I don't know if it's here. So, as a human being, you have the power to shape your circumstances. When you do it consciously, you can create the life you want. To do it consciously, you're going to need bilateral integration. That means that you're not overwhelmed by what comes up and that your chit chatter doesn't do shit, inner critic, outer critic. No, none of that. It does, oh, look, I have thoughts. Oh, look, I have emotions. And that it's containable. And then you address it. Oh, they're not irrefutable facts. Look at me. I'm doing the mindful, subjective awareness of reality. Okay. And so that's why it's a journey that you begin, if you need, first with a therapist to get yourself, once you're ready to have fun with emotions and thoughts. That's why people will say self-help, it's bullshit and crap. Or I don't want to do it, I want life now. Every time you do that, for somebody who's gained their self-awareness, accountability, and regulation, it's a pity. because then you're going to end up like a Zen master who has laundry because he doesn't know how to keep on working with a mindfulness brain and a mindset, and basically not call sadness, anger, frustration, all of the stuff that comes up yucky. So disgust, surprise, happiness, fear, anger, and sadness. Those are the basic six. And then again, all of the different sciences, they will tell you things differently. And I do too. So things will change up. I will fuck up data. I will forget it. I will misunderstand it. And I plan on continuing this way. And when we have a left brainer, they're just going to say, let's go make fun of someone. And we're going to say, we're already making fun of you. No, we won't do that because we won't cross paths. Most likely we will not. Okay, we will be back with more because I have some channeled guidance I want to share. And I want to find that other quote too. Meantime, being yourself. If you enjoy being yourself, if you want more of mindfulness, spirituality, and these self-help stories, practices, and any of it, sign up to nothing yet. Subscribe, tune in, like. That way the channel gets to be seen, the algorithm, how that works. But one-to-one mentorship, email me. Sign-ups, no, we don't have sign-ups yet, but you can start signing up for the masterclass if you are interested, and for the spiritual retreat, which I'm planning on doing once I finish the masterclass. Once we get our first group over, we'll see how many of you want to join for that. And again, the details are not really all solidified at all. I'm just beginning to work my creator brain. Again, thank you for being here, and it's great to be here. It's great to be breathing. So have a love affair with yourself, and then you'll find how easy love is with everything else. And again, for me, I got lucky. I have faith, and I have a mom and a family, and all that got me to keep saying, oh, and I need to thank myself too. But that sounds, doesn't that sound egoic? But then again, I do. You know who I'm thanking? My body. Maria's body and Maria's brain. It's an embodied brain. You did really good. Always does good. It keeps us protected. Anytime I see anybody saying your body betrayed you, no, your body actively didn't. Your mind didn't betray you either. Actively, you didn't choose the words you began to speak. Actively, the first year of your life, your body did what it could so you could withstand your circumstances. And that's why your body and brain didn't betray you. It's unfortunate business who betrayed you. And that's why, again, Patrick Tiahan, he's really great for childhood trauma survivors. And he has a community. And as he says, the will to heal begins the journey. Then you have a community with shared experiences. Then once you're ready, if you want, you forgive. We're open to all, but I am in favor of forgiveness completely. I support unconditional love and forgiveness because we're here to support the ones who are doing it. And they need to be forgiven when they make mistakes, and they will, because they had a end of the stick that is not the same end of the stick that some of us got. So a little bit of patience, that's what love is. Actually, a lot of patience is what love is. I'm still a child, even though I'm a grown-up. I'm just saying, anybody is a nurturing person, you know what it means to have patience. And it's called, I lovingly accept you for all that you are. You don't work for love, and you can express all your basic emotions. And even a cockroach is beautiful to their mother in Italy. And any type of wild child running around, it's okay. Go, be wild. This is what it means. But don't go there. So I'm not kidding. Gabor Mate, come on in. So we'll be back again with more. Thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe again. And share with anybody who you do know wants spiritual self-help, mindfulness living, and a funny 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group who says, yeah, enlightenment, not a flat line. Seriously, but you need to first get on a roll with this. The body, your divine feminine, and the heart, and the mind, your divine masculine, then masculine feminine. So we'll be back in a little bit.